Throners Podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. Ooh. We're here talking Catelyn 1, my favorite character.
I think I was telling one of you guys the other day, this is the gateway chapter. After this, we're done with all like the first chapters, I think, except for new characters maybe, and Danny. But after this, I think the chapters start picking up. Up to this is like the kind of like the previously on a little bit. And
you remember when Game of Thrones?
Similar to that too.
You remember when Game of Thrones wasted a whole episode to just have characters sit around and talk? That's what we've been doing for the last 8 episodes.
Yeah, just recapping basically when we did a whole podcast for that. So
yeah.
Jumping into this one, there's a little recappy, but we definitely get like an info dump on some new stuff. It's like a lot
I think we get a lot of info dump on
I think it's
everything.
a thematic chapter, really theme heavy. Not as much like info stuff happening, but it's about like feelings and how characters are acting. Right? Like what are the first lines in this chapter?
Heavy as the crown that basically, you wear.
Yeah. Her son's crown was fresh from the forge, and it seemed to Catelyn Stark that the weight of it pressed heavy on Robb's head. So there's like not a ton. Again, like there's a little bit happening in the plot line, but a lot of it's just about like how is Robb handling what happened since the last chapter where everyone named him king.
I feel like it's a lot of judgment by Kat. She's very judgy, and she's been judgy. This isn't nothing new. It's just her again.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get that at all really in this chapter.
Dude, she just like literally everything that Robb does.
Just hates women. That's all.
I don't hate women. I love women. I just don't like Kat. Every decision Robb makes, she just fucking bang. Like she knows, like she'd be the best queen ever. Like that's how I take her.
No, she's being a good devil's advocate. That's a good counselor. Sorry,
it just seems like go ahead, Kyle. Your turn.
I was say, like, so not only is Robb king, he's now past her kind of in the hierarchy, and she's in this new position with Robb that she's not used to being in, where he now outranks her. So, like, you have to understand that she's lived her whole life.
I mean, to be honest, he probably outranked her anyway as heir to Winterfell, and her just being the mom. Yeah, she had no power. She had no power. She had no power.
Glow. His mom. Did you never listen to your mom growing up?
She had no power.
I don't. I think Jeff's right. If it came to blows at the end of the day, Robb probably. Like, even before he was named king. Like, even before he was named king, Robb was in charge. Like, even in Mo Catelyn. Even like the Mo Catelyn chapter where Kat, like, thinks of it, she's like, I told you to command. Like, she's about that later.
Who was in charge? Who was in charge before she left with the dagger?
Robb. Robb was heir to Winterfell.
She was locked up in a room for, like, a week.
She might have been, like, she wasn't even...
charge.
She was doing nothing. She was locked up in a room for a week. There's this thing, like, at least in the show, right?
When Ned died... Robb became in charge.
No, right when the day Ned left, Robb was Winterfell. He was sitting at the chair of Winterfell. It wasn't Kat, it was Robb.
But definitely the day he left for sure. Because at Mo Catelyn, when Kat meets back up with him after she's done at the Eyrie and he's coming down south and they meet up at Mo Catelyn, at that point Robb's in charge, and she's even thinking like I can't do stuff that would make Robb look bad because he's in charge here. Like he has to be the Lord. Like he didn't really know it at that point, but he had no right to tell her to do anything.
Because she was in charge up until then.
No, he was.
Dude, she wasn't there. I don't know. Like, what did she do? What decisions did she make in Winterfell?
I agree with you, Kyle.
As in
charge? It doesn't matter if she made decisions or not. When she was there, she was in charge.
I disagree. Not by title, that's for sure. Definitely not by title. Maybe behind the scenes talk with Lewin, but not in front of the people. No way.
I think the big problem here is Robb. The only advisors Robb really has, except for Kat, are all like at least Blackfish gives some good counsel at the end, but it seems like that both Blackfish and Kat are scared that we got just a bunch of hot-headed people who are like battle. That's all they care about.
That's exactly what they are, though.
Exactly.
That's the issue.
Great John Umber is literally just like, let's just fight everyone. So Karstark just wants revenge. I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but they're fucking hotheads.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about it at all, but I mean, I guess let's just get into it. We'll talk about some more of it as we go through it.
All right, we'll talk about how judgy Kat gets. So we do come in.
It's because her role in life has changed.
Like, I don't even think she's judgy.
No, she's the mother. She's the mother of them. That's what her role's always been. She's had no authority.
I'm thinking she's used to being not in charge of Rob, but like guiding him, like raising him, telling him what he should do.
We were off that part,
and
but
now,
gotcha.
What are you talking about?
We were just like, what was your thought on Kat in this chapter? Like, was she judgy? Was she not judgy?
And that's where I'm going.
Okay.
This is why she's being judgy. She's like pinpointing everything like a mother would do. If you're doing something wrong, she's going to point it out to you. And also she's being a good devil's advocate, which I think is a good counselor, telling you all like the mistakes in every decision that you make. Like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this. This is why you shouldn't do that. Blah, blah, blah.
No, yeah, I think Rob would be way worse off without her. She says later she was the only reason that convinced him to even do what he's about to do in this council chamber. She's like, I said, it took a lot of convincing even to get him to do this much. So like he wouldn't have even offered terms this good, if terms at all, without her. But yeah, let's get into it. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right, so we do come in hot with the crown. We find out that the last crown for the King of the North was lost 300 years ago when Torrhen Stark knelt to Aegon the Conqueror.
Yep.
It's made out of bronze and iron, metals of winter.
Yeah. So something else I'm going to say is we don't get too much. It's hard for us to do it because we read these chapters like weeks apart. But there's like definitely like an immediate on the heels of what John's chapter had last time, like that you get immediately with this crown, right? When John's talking to
what Rob's made out of.
And we talked about this too in the spoiler.
Yeah,
we just didn't talk with Kyle.
Yep. So like when John's talking to Donald Noy, and Donald Noy's like, Robert was the true steel, but he's like, Stannis is black iron, brittle the way iron gets, and Renly's bronze. He's like good, or he's copper. He's fancy. He's good to look at, but not worth that much all at the end of the day. And then we start off right away with Rob getting a crown made of bronze and black iron. Right? Is that what it is?
I don't know if it's black iron. It is black,
iron,
but
black iron spikes with the runes of the first man.
I don't think Stannis was referred to as black iron. It was just iron for him.
Iron or whatever. And right after that, John had thought, "I wonder what Rob is." Is like the very next thing.
What is your connection then? Do you think he's steel?
I just think no. I mean bronze. I guess there's just it just seems bronze. Like there's a metaphor of kings and metals,
types of metals. Yeah.
And then immediately this chapter starts off with Rob was crowned with this crown that is not normal for a crown. Normally you get jewels or whatever, right? Is what she even says. Like there's no of gold and silver and gemstones that had none. Bronze and iron were the metals of winter, dark and strong to fight against the cold. Yeah, so it's like
I mean, just crown. Nothing fancy at all. Like you could find a couple blocks of probably cheap shit and put it on the king's head, right? So
basically, they bring somebody out.
Yes, they're sitting in the River Runs Great Hall, and Robin Ryger brings out Cleos Frey.
Yep.
When I first started reading this, I was like, I'm just trying to remember like what happens. I know we talked about it. I was like, oh shit, they're bringing out Jaime. Like it's time for Jaime Lannister to be seen again in front of everybody. But nope, he's not even here. He's chilling down in his cotton bed.
But this boy is half Lannister.
Well, exactly. Yeah. That's why it's. I think that's what the point of it here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because it's like kneel before the King Lannister, and then they get into it, and it's Cleos Frey.
Yeah.
But even like I was reading, I was like, oh fuck, who are they bringing up? What's this guy doing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And we find out it's Cleos Frey, like Glo said, and it's the son of Lady Jenna.
Jenna.
Okay, I got an auto correct in my notes.
Lady
Jenna, and who's a Lannister, sister of Tywin.
Yep.
And his father is Emmon Frey,
who's
the second son. Lord Frey.
Which sounds like he's like close in line, but he's not, because that guy's still behind all of the first son's kids, and the first son is like a grandfather already, because that guy's like 60.
The first son's like 50 years old, right?
Yeah, so he's already a grandfather with like at least eight heirs behind him, I think. So yeah,
it's crazy how it would go. I mean, one, the Freys just are living way too long, just kept up in their twin towers. Like, come on,
they're ruining Social Security.
And that's even partially what's the thing here. Like the Freys are on Rob's side. Like they are sworn to Rob in this fight, and here we have this guy who they have, Sir Cleos Frey, who's fighting on the other side.
Well, it even talks about how like Oliver, or I guess however you say it, Oliver Frey was like bringing him the stuff and reading the announcement. Like, I mean, he's right there in the room. With him.
His squire, Rob, the guy that Rob took on a squire.
Yeah.
You would assume that this Cleos Frey, it was not around the twins, though, right?
No, he must have been with the Lannisters.
Yeah. Like they probably sent Emmon West.
That's the thing is
right,
there's so many phrases and they just like marry them off. They're just like all over the countryside that like when the battle starts, you're just wherever you're at is pretty much like who you're loyal to, right? Like you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm afraid I gotta go. They just fucking kill you.
Back to the twins.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll see you guys in a couple weeks to fight.
So Theon yells at him to get on his knees, and Robin Ryger forces him to his knees, and that's where we get a little bit of his backstory. And she thinks like he's not Jaime, right? We get that comparison.
He ain't pretty like Jaime,
and he's just like scared too. Like even his mannerisms, like
pale watery eyes.
You know, Jaime would have like stared when Grey Wind starts coming up. Like he probably would have stared Grey. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he gets scared. But I mean, Grey Wind is a moose-looking wolf right now, right? Is that
He's a big old wolf.
Yeah. So like, then we get a little bit of a comparison. We get Cleos to Jaime at the same time as Kat's doing a little bit of Rob to Ned in her head. She's saying that like, his voice isn't as icy as Ned's would have been, but he didn't sound like the boy that he was either. And it was like war had made a man of Rob. And we learn later he's got like a fucking sick-ass red beard now.
I do think it's weird, like, it's really hard to compare him to Ned when he doesn't look like Ned.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He's not, like I don't know. Kind of.
He does act like him.
I really don't know if he does.
He's acting a little bit boyish, but yeah, he's acting a little, you can tell there's Ned, he's got the Ned, you can tell
there's a little bit more fanfare in him. I feel like he's kind of like Joffrey-ish on the throne.
He's obviously a kid. You can tell by like the tactics he pulls with Grey Wind and stuff. Yeah.
But that's kind of badass at the same time. Like, yo, show some fear, bro.
That's because you're a kid, Glow.
Get him scared.
You got to be more mature like
at the end. When she calls him on it, he's like, yeah, but it worked.
It was badass.
Yeah. Oh, he was like, oh, that was so awesome what I did, right? Like he doesn't care. It's kind of like the kid who did the party trick, but like scared away the 30 girls. You know what I mean? Like,
so
not that cool.
One of Glow's favorite characters gets involved here. Cool. They said that it wasn't the sword that was across Rob's lap that Cleos was afraid of,
but it was Grey Wind.
Yeah,
the gray wolf with the hot gold eyes or something like that. I forget exactly.
Oh my god, you gotta have that ready. Molten gold eyes, Glow.
I said hot gold. I was pretty close.
Molten gold.
And it says that everyone in the room could smell the scent of fear. Does that mean he like pissed himself? That's kind of what I took it to mean.
Didn't they say that he had to go get new pants at some point? Or
they said get clean clothes, but I didn't know if that just meant because he's been in the
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Jail for a while.
But I was wondering, I was like, does that mean he pissed himself? Everyone could smell the scent of
I didn't
fear.
pick up on that at all. The one thing I did see, they mentioned that the cells were crowded in River Run right now, so they've got a bunch of war prisoners from which we find out kind of what they're going to use them for later on in the peace treaty. But from the Whispering Woods and the Battle of the Camps, they got a lot of prisoners sitting down.
Yeah, not going anywhere.
Sitting down.
So this is when Cleo stands and thanks Rob, but he calls him a lord, and Great John just like bellows at him. He's like, "Your grace," instead of "your lord." Again, we talked about this a lot, that like people get pissed when you don't get the titles right. And then Cleo's
Joffrey's the one that's normally yells it, but at least it wasn't Rob who said it though.
And so I guess it is a big slap in the face, right?
I don't know. I don't think Cleos was trying to slap him in the face. He just forgot.
Like I think
I think it can be.
Like just think about like doctors. So it happens in modern day. Like like Mr. blah blah blah, and oh no, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Oh okay.
I didn't go to school for 7 years to be called Mister.
Do these prisoners even know about that though? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Too.
Like how are they getting news?
Yeah. How are they going to know that he became King of the North?
I'm sure the people watching them are like,
see the fucking crown, bro.
Yeah.
You hear the chants, dude? King of the North.
There's gotta be like the guardsmen are like, yeah, we just fucked you up, and now we got our own king, bitches. Like, they're definitely taunting them as they're watching guard.
Nah, Kyle's got a good point though. Like, yeah, these guys are getting updated.
All right, so we find out why Sir Cleos was brought up, and it's because he is Cersei's cousin, and Rob wants him to go to King's Landing and send terms of peace. Can we just there's a bunch of kind of terms. I listed them all out too.
So hold on. First off, we get that he's not free. Like he's
not free.
He is expected to come back and resume captivity
on honor of his knighthood.
Yeah. So right off the bat, let's try and get some predictions from Kyle as we go. Right off the bat, how do we think, regardless of what anybody cares about, what is said in this letter, what's we got for Sir Cleos?
Well, and I mean, even just this whole thing as a whole, that they're going to send some of his men, 30 of his best men, under a peace banner. Like, do they really expect Tywin or the Mountain to give a shit about any of this?
So, the one thing I was thinking about the 30 men wasn't so much to be like for like fanfare. It's like literally like in the Arya chapters, they're like worried about
everybody on the road.
And they're like, the only thing that they have going for them is that they have 30 men. So that's why I was like, okay, 30, it does seem a bit much, but that's the number that Yoren keeps throwing around like a big swinging dick, like it's going to keep off bandits. So maybe that's a good number for Rob to send. Was kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
obviously, Rob's men are way higher skilled than the 30 Yoren has.
I just mean that they're sending them past like the enemy, essentially.
No, I agree with you here.
I think they could scoot a little bit farther west away from them as
King's
they come
Landing
down.
is literally where they're headed, and that's like the enemy.
Yeah, but they like where the Mountain, and they're out at Harrenhal though. So as long as they can scoot past Harrenhal,
the Mountain isn't at Harrenhal.
Yeah, but what we learned later. Yeah, what Kyle's saying is what we learned later. There's raiders.
Well, I mean,
all
we
over
even
the
knew that
place.
before. He was headed out.
But even like these little raiding parties are like winning some battles too. So I don't know. Like it's got to be a big thing to.
So what your thing is
fight
30
someone
isn't
under
enough?
a treaty.
Your thing is that 30 isn't enough.
I'm thinking that they're just crazy to be trying to do this shit and expect nothing to happen. I'm not saying more men would help. They still try to get cut down.
It's got to be pretty.
It's got to
be pretty bad to kill someone under a peace banner, though.
Why not just send a raven?
Like,
especially
paying attention to the past few books.
We hear about
one. We've only read one book, so
we hear about what Gregor does later. We hear about what Gregor does later, and like he literally kills a 5-year, a setting in 7. Says younger than Bran is the only age we get for him, but the heir to Derry, the Mountain kills this kid instead of holding him ransom or whatever. Well, not only was he a kid, but he was the last of the. He literally ended the Derry line. The Mountain did.
Yeah,
and he's just like, fuck it. Like, and Brendan's like, what does a frothing dog care about money or any of that shit? Because you're just a fucking mad dog. So that's kind of what Kyle's saying. So I fucking get that.
Yeah, no, I do. If it was just the Mountain, and if they met with the Mountain in the field, I agree with Kyle too. Like, it's probably going to be a fight. If it's Tywin, he probably just takes the terms there, but he's at least going to listen to him.
If they look at the terms, they could be in trouble. But yeah. But I think the thing is, what do you lose? Like, what is Rob losing? So yeah, like 30. You don't want to lose 30 men, but we're on the scale of like 20,000 men as the size of these armies. And Cleos, which is why you're not sending Jamie. Because it's fucking sure. We're sending fucking Cleos for who the fuck.
There's another thing too, is that like you're kind of the Lannisters' reputation right now has to be going way down.
Just because they're doing
for what they're doing in the Riverlands. In general, just murdering towns, right? Like,
but we're also getting ahead again. But they're building another army, so their reputation isn't that bad.
Well, they're building the army in where their territory is.
Swords and just like
that's just money. That's just buying.
So to both your points,
just paying for them.
To both your points, like it's something that Rob might consider fighting fire with fire here and doing what Tywin's doing to the Riverlands, doing to the Westerlands, right?
You mean burning all their shit?
Yeah. Or is Rob above that?
That's fucking war crimes. Yeah, Rob's above that.
So Rob's above that. So that's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. It becomes the point too, like the age old question: are you going to rule in fear or love? Type of shit. Or would you rather be feared or loved?
Which is what I was getting at before. Like, this dude obviously doesn't have a problem committing all these war crimes. Why does he give a shit about a peace banner? Tywin.
Yeah.
No,
maybe he really liked Cleos. I don't know, but. So
along with the peace banner is the type of thing which is like Rob's playing a different game, right? Like Rob's playing.
He's playing by the rules.
It's not like a chess. It's not like exactly. It's not a chess checkers. Exactly. He's doing the same shit that Ned did that led to what happened to Ned.
The honorable way.
Playing by the rules when you know no one else is. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but then again, it's like, oh wow, you just killed our party under a peace treaty too. Like now we can really get everyone like to fight you guys. Like you guys are. But
at the same time, if they kill,
they're already doing heinous
all
shit.
These guys
like,
under a peace banner.
Who gives a fuck?
Let's kill Jamie.
Yeah, but right now there's no unity between. There's 4 armies right now. Like, and we're really jumping to the end to the last conversation. Like, all right, like all this is the one group that really sucks. Let's bam, type of stuff.
Hopefully
where
everyone is
maybe enough heinous shit adds up that it's like, all right, well, screw who's in charge right now. Like, let's just get rid of the Lannisters.
Yeah, when it's 1-on-1, maybe if one army is willing to do more than the other army is, it doesn't fucking matter. The army who's not willing to go far to do the heinous shit is just going to lose. But when there's other armies in play, then what you fucking do matters because you have allies to keep happy and not just be a dickhead about. But again, I don't know if on the scale of what's being a dickhead, if killing a person under a peace banner is that much worse, if at all worse, than killing a 7-year-old.
No, I agree. It's definitely not worse. But let's jump into the terms of peace. I'm sure we'll just continue to talk more. All right, so the first
one is release his sisters and deliver them to White Harbor via the sea on ship.
All right, keep going, Glenn.
So hold on. Well, something really important happens before the terms.
Oh, Rickard
Greywind comes to Robb.
Yeah,
Greywind comes up to Robb. Robb explains that he's offering peace terms and that if Cersei agrees, he will sheathe the sword and return north. And then Karstark dips before he hears anything. Yeah. And I brought that up because they talk about that. Kat and him talk about that later.
And we've known Karstark's kids died protecting Robb.
Yeah, and what we know that Karstark doesn't know is his third and only other son is actually captive.
He's captive
from the Green Fork. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So go ahead, Glo.
So the second term is Ned's and his guardsmen's bones all get returned to Winterfell, so Ned may rest in peace next to his brothers and sisters and father or whatever.
Yeah. All right. You skipped over two of that I had.
No, it said secondly, and that was it.
All right. Well, there's some more details with the first one then. Sansa will no longer be betrothed to Joffrey.
Yeah.
And once the girls are safe, he will release William Lannister and Tion Frey.
Yeah. And Tion Frey is Cleos Frey's brother. Yeah. So and then also what I noticed that was weird was in between each of the points that I had, Kat has like a weird one line. So like Kat wishes she knew what everyone was thinking. Then the Ned Bones one. Mm-hmm. Then Kat thinks that
she blames herself,
went south.
Right?
Yeah, like live men went south and cold bones are going to come north, and she feels guilty and she feels like she was the reason, or at least part of the reason that convinced Ned to go south. So the next one, Glo?
Technically is her fault.
Yeah, next one.
Ice has to be returned to Winterfell or
to Robb at Riverrun. Yep.
Yeah, Robb.
And then Kat watches Edmure's face. He was still a stone. And then next one.
They're going to release all the captives, and once they get the captives, Robb will do the same and release the Lannister captives.
Except,
but Jaime will stay.
Yeah. To ensure
how about that little snake too of Robb's best friend? Theon. I just made a note. Like he was just smiling.
Theon's sly smile, wondering what it meant. He always looked like he knew some secret jape. So this is definitely the second time someone's literally said this exact same thing about Theon. Like he always has this like shit-eating grin on his face.
Who was the first one?
Brand that said
literally, I think 2 times they've literally said like the exact same thing. Tyrion or something. He always, it might have been Tyrion, might have been Bran.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was Bran or something. Like he said, he looked like he was laughing at a joke that no one else heard.
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
Like that.
We've definitely heard something very similar about this to Theon before. Again, we got some more info about Theon later on, so that's kind of why I thought that was interesting. So yeah, go ahead, Glo.
Next one is the North is
lastly,
to be
but there's
free.
He says lastly, but there's like a few other things he says after.
Yeah, there's like the North is to be a separate kingdom with no taxes, and all the houses don't owe the Iron Throne no more money and shit,
and the Riverlands are a part of this too.
Yeah, which makes things way harder, I think, like just strategically, right? If you're just saying I want just the North, you can just put a big like a couple hundred men at the neck and you're good. But like you're got to literally defend the Riverlands.
I mean, you have the coast. You have 2 coasts still. Like they
on the Riverlands, no, they got mountains to the east.
No. I'm saying the North. Like you have
you could get attacked
both
by
sides.
sea.
Yeah.
I mean, by land.
Yeah, you're right. Like Army is only coming up through the neck, and it's pretty skinny and swampy from what we know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle. You were gonna say something?
I was just gonna agree with you. Yeah, it kind of hangs out there, dangling out there in the middle of enemy territory. So.
Yeah, literally surrounded by everything. Well, I mean, theoretically, Lysa in the east, but who the fuck knows what's going on with Lysa?
It's kind of weird that they included the Riverlands to me.
Huh?
We'll go with Kyle first. I don't think they do. I think they're saying like that's the border. Is like once you get the mountains.
Lysa's not in it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
the mountains
we're
are
claiming
before
from
hers?
yeah. It's you go through the mountains and you're in the Vale.
Okay.
Yep.
It's kind of weird to me that Rob would even like want the Riverlands or.
Well, I think
It's his
like
family.
these people are saving him, right? Like they're also like
Yeah, no, I understand he like wants them to,
they're
but you would.
sticking his neck out for him.
I'm not. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Riverlands were like, all right, like yeah, after this war, like we'll be allies, but let us govern ourselves too.
Yeah, I could see
Like,
that too. Like
It
almost
does.
going
It's
back to
kind
the
of
original
weird that they're
Seven
like,
Kingdoms.
oh yeah, we'll just take another.
We'll be part
We'll
of the
take
North.
another king.
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
but
maybe
what's
Rob was just
fucking
like, no,
King
you're with
Edmure?
us.
yeah, King Edmure.
No one wants King Edmure.
Plus, at this point, they need defense. You know, I know you said after this thing's over, but like they need them for the defense of Riverland still. So
Yeah, no,
need-
I mean they definitely should be really tight allies just because of the family ties in general. And it's just going to be survival in this thing.
So Great Jarn starts booming. King of the North again. I think maybe some
Like
other
that's
people
like the
join
only
in
thing
already, or
I think
maybe
he
no.
can say. I think that's the only like the one
He's
sentence
just
he
no,
knows.
but he's also just like the greatest yes man ever because he's huge.
For sure.
Isn't he the one who got his fingers cut bit off?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
just like, and he's just like massive and just like anything you say, he's like fuck it. Like no one's ever gonna tell that guy no. Like in a council meeting, you know what I mean? Like
He's great to have on your side, but like, should he really be like
Kinda to
in
what
your
I was-
council?
yeah, go Kyle.
I didn't understand his place in this chapter because yeah, exactly. He's just like screaming over Rob and just like
I think it's also to what I was saying
disrupting
earlier.
the whole room.
He's the hype man.
Well, I think it's also
Yeah, he
to,
wants to fight everything.
to
and-
show how opposing or how different Catelyn is than most of the other people that are influencing Rob.
Okay.
I think it's kind
Gotcha.
of I think it's maybe is his big thing here. He's just like the classic northern
Okay.
lord guy kind of.
Yeah.
So then he rolls up this shit and this.
Hold
map
on,
that was-
there's one more part.
Well, he rolls it
He
up.
wants
it
10
throws-
hostages.
Okay,
I think this is before the map.
I think he
No,
throws it
that's
as
accurate.
he throws it at his
Is
feet
it after?
first. Yeah.
Okay, you go.
So he
ahead,
rolls it
Rob.
up.
Go ahead,
He
Austin.
He throws it at Cleos's feet. He says Tywin must withdraw his men from from these borders and stop raiding. And Joffrey and Cersei can no longer claim taxes. And the Lannisters must deliver 10 highborn hostages that like mutually agreed upon, and he'll release 2 a year, I guess, for the next 5 years. Rob tossed the rolled parchment at the knight's feet.
There are the terms. If she meets them, I'll give her peace. If not, I'll give her another whispering wood.
Greywind moved forward, snarling.
I'll give her my whispering wood.
I'll give him my whispering wood.
So then they all start chanting again. Cleos had gone the color of curdled milk. And Rob says that, Rob says Cersei would hear his message. Oh yeah, and then this is when they say like, yeah, give Cleos food and clean clothes, and you're gone at first.
Send his ass on the way.
Yep. So everyone bent the knee to Rob, and then Rob left with Greywind. All of ours are going after him, or scrambled it to open the doors, and Cat and Edmure follow him out.
Yeah, this kid wasn't ready to be head of or
Squire.
Head squire.
That's for
Not yet,
sure.
yeah. He's figuring it out.
He
But
seems
then
pretty
Rob,
nervous.
Rob throws that crown right off, right? Not like one of the first
He's
things
like,
he does,
yo,
pretty much.
please take this to my bed.
Yeah.
Get this shit off me.
Where do they go then? Are they just like walking and talking then in this
They're
next
just like
part?
right now. They're just like in the hallway. Yeah, that like leads out of the back of their great hall.
Yeah. If they are just kind of like walking away, like hopefully they're talking pretty quietly. Like they are giving some pretty deep counsel
I
here.
don't think there's people around.
Like just walking around. But so like the first thing Cat does say is like, "Hey, I think you did pretty good there."
except for the wolf.
But using Grey Wind to like scare the kid was a little boyish and not.
How old is
Very
is
kingly.
Cleos?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess he's married.
We'll
so
call
he's
him
gotta be
20.
Oldish.
Why do you say he's married?
Because didn't he? Oh no, that's his mom is the Lannister.
Yeah.
I thought he was married to. I mixed it up. Sorry.
Let's just say 20, just to be on the safe
Yeah, I
side.
don't think he's too old. Yeah, probably around there.
Okay. Well, he's knighted, so I mean, he has
Yeah,
to
he's
be
a
kind of-
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, He's-
Old enough to fight too.
Yep.
And we know wasn't Jamie the youngest
he's
knight?
one of the sons of Theon's
Frey's second son, who's pretty
second
old
son.
himself.
So he's probably like 30, 35.
Yeah, he might be older than that. Yeah.
He could be old. He's probably married. He probably has fucking kids too. The way the phrase.
I think 20.
What's the line that the phrase like they just multiply? Like
Yeah,
they're
he's
very.
probably got 6 wives of his own. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. There's a 20-year gap on the wiki.
Damn. All right, so we get some kind of just highlights of the meeting.
but between
and
30 and 50.
Yeah, I mean, that's
older than 30.
I mean, it makes sense. Second son, and he's 90.
Between 23 and whatever 30 years from that. 23 and 50.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a huge gap to kind of missing, but so we get kind of Cat's highlights of the peace treaty here, and just kind of talking to Rob. The big thing was Karstark, right? And Rob noticed it too. Like, he didn't shy away from Karstark being mad and walking out, but we find out Edmure's really mad too. I think Edmure's mad at peace just as much as Karstark.
Well, she says that even Rob didn't want. She said even Rob wanted vengeance as much as Karstark. Yeah, took hit. That's what I was saying earlier. It took enough convincing to get him.
Yeah, but if you can get, I mean, when we went through that peace treaty, that's all pro Stark, you know.
Yeah. So I guess let's pause real quick before we go any further. Kyle, what do you think of this peace treaty? Let's get a prediction. Like, if this gets to where it's going, how's it going to be interpreted?
I mean, she's not going to be happy about it, obviously. Like Jeff just said, it's all very pro. It's all one-sided, but rightfully so. I think they have the leverage here, obviously.
So, I mean, like, the highlights are you got to give up Sansa and Arya. You don't get Jaime back. You get two characters we've never heard of before back, which doesn't mean that they're not important, but we've never heard of them. Ned's sword. I don't know if that's super important, right? And then basically you lose 2 kingdoms out of the 7 that you're claiming to rule.
And money.
Yeah, governing already.
I think the money is the issue, yeah.
Yeah, the taxes.
Yeah.
And
I mean, are the Starks really? Is Rob really in position to be offering?
Clearly not, by what we hear throughout the rest of the chapter.
Or just like in general, like they've won 2 battles. They won the Whispering Woods. They pretty much won the Siege of Riverrun. Like, they haven't really won anything else.
And they lost the Green Fork, where Tyrion was.
Right. So I don't understand. Like, I get it. Like, you won 2 pretty cool battles, but.
And that's what Kat says here.
And
right?
and I feel like Rob's smart enough to know that too. Like, I feel like he's mentioned before, maybe he hasn't, but like, it's just battles, right? Like, that's why he was willing to kind of lose the Green Fork one so that they could win these too.
He kind of broke everything up though. Like, this drove a wedge into the middle of the Lannisters, so he kind of has won pretty significant kind of things here. And then
he also has Jaime.
Given, that he has Jaime, who's their number 1, essentially. I mean, Tywin, I guess, but Tywin even seems to care more about Jaime than anything else for the most part. And then
he's not vulnerable.
Gosh. What's that?
He's not vulnerable. Like, right now, he's not like Rob's not like in super danger. He just doesn't really have a good move, is what it seems like, right? Like, that's like his dilemma. It's not like he's worried that he's going to lose this war in the next week or 2, but he's just like, he can't do what he needs to do with protect the people because of what's happening and keep an army about him to fight a war that he needs to.
Yeah, and we find out that Edmure fucked up anyway. Like, Edmure is not doing anything to help the case either.
So Edmure counsels Robb to let the lords go back to their homelands, which is a big part of why Robb doesn't have the strength to do anything right now, right? Because we hear Mark Piper, Lord Cara Vance, Janice Bracken, and now even Jason Mallister, whose house hasn't even been attacked by the fighting, wants to go back to, like, in preparation defend, I guess. Right?
Right.
So,
which is just like, come on, it's wartime right now.
But like what do you I don't see the other side. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just let them destroy all your small folk and like the people that you're supposed to be like.
Well, isn't that
everyone is at Riverrun? Not everyone in the Riverlands is at Riverrun. Just the fighting men and the lords are. Like, what do you do?
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. Like, what's everyone doing that we just found out in Arya's chapter?
Just literally killing everything, it seems like, right?
Well, everyone's like trying to run to King's Landing to feel like they're safe. Like, why isn't everyone running to Riverrun to try and feel safe? Like, maybe they don't have enough food. Maybe they don't have enough room. Maybe it's just going to be the same problems.
That's also, there's a huge difference here. Riverrun is not a city. Riverrun is a castle. King's Landing is a huge city. There's only
I get it.
Millions of people.
There's only actually 3 real cities in all of Westeros: Old Town, King's Landing, and White Harbor, the one in the north. Besides that, like, you don't really have a population of small folk at any of these big areas.
So what I would assume would happen was that you would kind of set up camp or shop outside of the walls, and if imminent danger was ever coming, you'd run inside. And yeah, it'd be But what do they eat? I mean, you just can't survive in your little hay
They have
shack
no
when
food is the other problem. Like, I mean,
you gotta bring whatever you have. I mean, they're getting ready for
nobody
winter.
has anything. They're burning
and there's no
everything.
stores
That's
to
true.
buy stuff at. Like,
But I'm saying before it got to the point where, like, all right, war's coming. Like, let's get to the main head castle. This had to happen before. Like, I don't. Maybe this is the first time one army's just completely burned down.
What do you think, Kyle? Like, what does Rob do? Like, what's the good? Is what he did the right move? Like, what else do you do?
Oh yeah, no, exactly. It's like, what else do you do? It's you gotta try and end it as fast as possible especially when it's your civilians that are getting wasted. You know, I'm trying to think of how to like put it into words, but like it's exactly like he had no choice. These people had to be helped out. Like, and Jeff, I see your point, but like it's easier said than done to just expect these people to just pick up their lives and show up outside a river run.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, not even that. We
and potentially not be able to get let in.
Not even just them. Like, we hear that Lord Jonas Bracken he vowed to retake his burnt castle. His castle's already been destroyed.
yeah,
All he
like,
wants to
there's
do
nothing
is
left.
go back there and retake his destroyed castle and bury the dead. Is what this guy wants to do.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
that guy, fuck that guy. You're staying here. You have nothing. You have no one to protect. They're already dead. Like, fuck that guy. And Malister, I don't know. Maybe being preemptive is a good idea, but
I don't know. I think you
gotta be
stay.
selective.
Is he on
You
the
gotta be
sea,
selective
though?
with
He's,
who
like,
you
on
let
the
go
border.
where.
I
He's
think
on
you
the sea.
stay
You're
and
right. He's on the
fight.
sea.
If you get split up, right, and then you just die by being separated, you know, you're way too small.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked about how many people are these guys taking back with them? So
Divide and conquer.
divide and die, more like.
I mean,
it's what it
And
sounds
that's
like
what
it's been
Edmure-
doing.
And that's why Edmure says losing Karstark is such a big deal. It's like, we have reason to lose men from the River Lords because they have shit to go protect. If Karstark just up and leaves with his actual army, not just from a meeting, that's like a big member of the actual force we have left that's not out protecting themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the smarter thing wouldn't have been to send the individuals that were losing things out, but to send maybe parts of the army out.
Yeah.
You know, to defend.
Yeah.
And
But
set
how?
up defensive
But how?
positions.
Yeah, it's just like how widespread can you get? Like I don't know.
Yeah,
You
can't
have
spread
to,
too
you have
thin.
to defend some though. Like, I mean, you can't.
I don't. I mean, you're in the middle of war right now. It's like I just think of
supplies.
What it is what we heard in the last
They're already
Tyrion
burned.
chapter
They're
of
gone.
the last book, where Tywin literally said, "Send the mountain out." He said like one or two more people, maybe the people that Blackfish brings up here. He says like, "Send these people out and just tell them to burn the Riverlands." He's like, and when you're willing to make a command like that, it puts the other dude in a fucking hard spot, especially when they're not willing to do it back, and you know that. Like if
Well, right,
Rob was,
so
if
in
Rob was
land,
able
like,
to say
what-
like, "Brendan, go fucking burn the Westerlands." They're just as close. I mean, I guess they're not just as close, but they could do some of that in the Westerlands.
Yeah, I mean, why? You're right. Rob just doesn't want to do that, and no one's gonna counsel him. His mom's not gonna counsel him to do that.
Exactly.
There's no way
She's
Kat's
counseling for peace here.
and maybe is that the right thing to do? Maybe they should fight fire with
It's
fire.
not the right thing to do.
Well, so what Kat says is more blood won't bring back Ned or Karstark.
People dying anyway. They're not
It won't.
protecting
It
them.
won't
It's a
bring.
war crime.
It won't. But peace. What Kat says, peace is the answer, because if we just stop everything now, like more blood, period, won't bring anybody we've lost back, right? And she's like, "You should have offered more," is what she tells Rob. And he says, "If I would have
To
offered
make it
anything,
stick.
yeah, if I would have offered anything to actually try and make peace," she's like, "There's no way that they're
Yeah.
going to accept this." She's like, "Anything sweeter, and I would have gagged," is what Rob said.
I like that quote.
That's when Kat thinks to herself that Rob is just as like against this peace thing as Rickard, and it was hard enough for her to convince him. And then she tells him that Cersei will never give up, and that Sansa and Arya for two cousins is not what she wants. It's Jaime is what she wants.
Yeah, and this is where we really find out that, you know what, Rob doesn't really care. Like he's not giving up Jaime for anything.
Yep.
Even his two sisters.
She had told him as much before, but Catelyn was finding that kings do not listen half so attentively as sons.
I can't release the Kingslayer, not even if I wanted to. My lords would never abide it,
Your lords made you their king.
and can unmake me just as easy.
If your crown is the price we must pay to have Arya and Sansa return safe, we should pay it willingly. Half your lords would like to murder Lannister in his cell. If he should die while he's your prisoner, men will say,
That he well deserved it.
Rob finished.
and your sisters,
Catelyn asked sharply.
will they deserve their deaths as well? I promise you, if any harm comes to her brother, Cersei will pay us back Blood for blood.
Lannister won't die.
Rob said.
No one so much as speaks to him without my warrant. He has food, water, clean straw, more comfort than he has any right to. But I won't free him, not even for Arya and Sansa.
Her son was looking down at her, Catelyn realized. Was it war that made him grow so fast, she wondered? Or the crown they had put on his head?
Are you afraid to have Jaime Lannister in the field again? Is that the truth of it?
Grey Wind growled, as if he sensed Rob's anger. And Edmure Tully put a brotherly hand on Catelyn's shoulder.
Cat, don't. The boy has the right of this.
Don't call me the boy.
Rob said, rounding on his uncle, his anger spilling out all at once on poor Edmure, who had only meant to support him.
I'm almost a man grown and a king, your king, sir. And I don't fear Jaime Lannister. I defeated him once, I'll defeat him again if I must. Only...
He pushed a fall of hair out of his eyes and gave a shake of his head.
I might have been able to trade the Kingslayer for father, but...
But not for the girls?
Her voice was icy quiet.
Girls are not important enough, are they?
Rob made no answer, but there was hurt in his eyes. Blue eyes, Tully eyes, eyes she had given him. She had wounded him, but he was too much his father's son to admit it. All right, that's good.
Bam.
See, this is why, like, I don't know why you were arguing with me at the beginning, Jeff, because like this whole thing is about her, like, her role has changed in his eyes, like, and she is like.
I don't think her role has changed at all. To Rob, she's still Rob's mom, and she still counsels him.
She said he was looking down on me. Was it war that made him grow so fast? She wanted the crown they'd put on his head.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not like an official title. Maybe I mean. It's not like she lost control.
I don't know why you're arguing with me. It's written in the book. That's what I'm saying.
It's not. This is just Rob just looking down on her. It's not like she was queen and now is just a normal lady. She never had a title. She was the mother of the heir of the Winterfell.
Yeah, I think Jeff's point is that like she never had that too much like rule over him. But Kyle's saying that like now he has more over her than he used to. Right.
I would agree that now he's not listening to her as much, but that doesn't mean she was in charge.
Yeah, he was always in charge is what you're saying.
Correct.
Based on like how the matrilineal
At the end of the day, he could have been like, no, we're doing this. And she would have been like,
but he
all
never
right.
would have.
You don't know that just because it didn't happen.
I don't know. You're right, Jeff, on what you're saying, but what Kyle's saying is also
she had no authority.
Right.
She just.
We've seen Rob just listen to Kat when he didn't have to. Like,
sure.
The entire
no, I'm not. I'm not saying that at all. But to say that she was in charge, no, I didn't.
Kyle said.
I said that he didn't listen to her.
Yeah, Kyle said. Yeah.
No, I'm saying he didn't have to.
Yeah, we know that, but we know that he did. He has been and stuff. And what Kyle's saying,
sure, but that doesn't give her a mate. That didn't give her authority over him. I know.
But
that's all I'm saying.
What Kyle's saying is this is where his point of view is changing to now. I don't have to listen to her. You're right that he never had to, but he was. Okay, he was
fine. Fine.
All right,
but to say she was in charge is just wrong.
Well, no, she was because he was listening to her.
She wasn't in charge. She wasn't.
She was.
Just because he was listening to her doesn't give her authority over him.
I guess like not in. You're right. Not in the book. Mother. We're all in agreement that like
I'm never going to agree with this. I don't know what this is stupid.
She knew
she did not have authority over him. Just because he listened to her doesn't give him her authority over him. She could not go into Winterfell into the Great Hall and be like, no, this is what we're doing. I know it's stupid.
No, if you told me to do something and you knew I was going to listen, then yeah, you have authority over me because I'm going to do what you say. But if you like, I could.
My whole argument was that she didn't have a role. She did not have the authority in Winterfell at the time. She was not in charge in the Great Hall of Things. She was not sitting at the head table taking on the people. It was Rob.
Once Ned left, yes, by the book, Catelyn. Once Ned left, Rob's in charge of everything. But what Kyle's saying,
that's all I said.
What Kyle's saying is just like from the character point of view, like we understand how the rules of Westeros work. We all get that from the character point of view.
And I agree. He listened to his mom, but she wasn't in charge. Like,
okay, cool. I don't care how the words work.
Okay, I don't give a fuck either. I don't know why we're still talking about it. I don't.
All right, we'll go. Move on.
Okay.
It's cool. We're just arguing over words. We can just move on.
Okay.
So after that, like conversation, Kat feels like she kind of like hit Rob with a low blow, and she's like kind of thinking like, "What the fuck's becoming of me?" Blames it on losing Ned, and just thinks that she's gone through too much. She can't stand to fucking lose the girls anymore. So that's why she's kind of like, that's why she's pushing back on Rob so much, even though he's just like shutting her down and like clearly getting pissed off by it. Like even fucking Grey Wind howled at fucking Catelyn during that last exchange, right? But I think fucking Cat. It sucks because, like I said earlier, all of Rob's counselors are kind of just like stupid wartime counselors, and I guess this is wartime. But Cat is the only person that's like seems like is not gun ho, just go fight full out fight. Which
That's
is like,
because Cat really only has one goal in this whole thing. She doesn't care about anything but one thing. So she doesn't care about the greater good. She cares about getting Arya and Sansa back. That's it.
But to what Glow was saying earlier, like, it's good to just have even if it's not the right solution, and I would argue that it is the right solution. The Cat is 100% more right than Rob here, and just fucking give up, go home. You don't like the reason you left Winterfell is lost. Ned's dead. You don't like just go home at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
but they've picked on a whole nother snowball of shit now.
We talked about it. They talked about it in the last Cat chapter of like book 1, right? Like, if you could just trade, if you could get peace and go home with Sansa and Arya, that's perfect for Rob because that he came down to save Ned, and Ned's dead, so they can't do that. So they can go home with what they came with, and they're good. The problem is they've got all these other Riverlands people committed to them at this point. They can't just be like, fuck you guys.
And just other North people, too.
And the North people.
Or like, hey, like now, like Karstark, my son just died. Like, no, we're fighting these people. Like,
yeah.
If they were like, oh, no, we got ours, like us Starks, oh, the Starks are safe, let's go home. We're like, whoa, like we just fought for you. What about our people now? Like, we're just going back to the way it was? Like, shit's changed. It's not. And that's why I think Cat's wrong in just saying, oh, it's just for the 2 girls. Like, it's a lot bigger than that.
I guess just like, I don't know what's to gain from keep going. Like, they don't like what's to gain is you get the North and the Riverlands as a free independent country, but you don't care about that. Like, or you didn't 2 weeks ago.
It sounds like the people do now.
I think they do now because they want something they need a reason
but
to keep
it's also
fighting.
something we know that obviously they've done this a long time ago, right? So there's a history of them being their own people. The North already feels separated from the South.
Not living memory.
Sure.
300 years.
It's all rumors, but they already feel different, right? They've got different gods. They just, they make fun of, like, the South people don't accept the North. Like, oh, those fucking North people. Like, they're almost wildlings.
Barbarians, yeah.
So, I mean, they're as much a part as...
I just think that like when they started marching south, no one at all cared if the North was its own thing. And then at a certain point, what they were fighting for became impossible. We were trying to free Ned. Now Ned's dead. Now what are we fighting for? And then literally in that meeting where they were talking about that, Great John just proposes King of the North. Let's just fight for this. So I mean, I just think like they're. And
you don't think Rob's eating that shit up? For sure. Yes.
For sure. But Cat's point is, look, it's done. Like we basically lost. We did not accomplish what we set out to accomplish, and now we're just fighting. We're just fighting for the sake of fighting. We're just losing blood, and it's not going to give us anything we want. Which is
Ned's never coming back.
She's right. Karstark's sons are never coming back. The only thing this gains us is even at the end of the day, if Rob gets to call himself king,
it's more death
is all we're going home with, regardless of where the borders lay or whatever. Which is, I guess I'm in agreement with.
But
Kat.
Truly. I think Kat just really cares about getting the girls.
100%.
Like, if it took 4 more battles and 4 more battles of people dying, but she got the girls, she'd be like, all right, let's fight these 4 battles. So like, it's not just all, oh, the blood. It's like, oh wait, just don't shed my daughter's blood. Is what she really cares about.
We're spinning our wheels on this one, but she gives other counsel on like stuff like Theon, and I agree with even that later on too, right? But we'll get into that when we get there. So
that's a tough one for sure.
It is,
and it's coming up.
It is, yeah. We're getting close. So,
so after their little conversation there, Rob's like, "All right, so why don't you just go to the Freys and pick out a girl for me? Let me know who to go." And she's like, "You're old enough; you can handle that yourself." Yeah. And he's like, "Well, how about then you go with Theon to the Iron Islands?
No,
and then you can ship up to Winterfell.
With Theon to Seaguard. Theon's going,
but then to the Iron Islands. I think it was the Iron Islands too to get a ship
for the Iron Islands. He was going to go to the Iron Islands,
and then send her home.
No, she wasn't going to go to the Iron Islands. She was going to go to Seaguard. No, she was going to go to Seaguard with Theon, and then they were going to get different boats.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then she was going to go take care of.
Yeah, she would go to Winterfell. Yeah, she would be home within a month, and Theon would go to the Iron Islands. Yeah. She says that like fuck no.
She just wants to stay. She wants to. Well, once she wants to stay in Riverrun because her dad's dying, which I think is a pretty.
Yeah, that's a legitimate.
Like, all right, like you can stay here for now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if that's like a fake reason. I assume she probably does want to get back to Bran and Rickon. I think, like, I don't think she's just saying that. Did you get that? It sounded like you got that feeling, Jeff, from what you're saying. That she was just telling Robb, not that like obviously she wants to stay because of her dad, but like that like she wanted to stay more for the Robb situation than the Haas situation. She was just using that as an
I would
excuse.
say she still wants to be around Robb too. Like I feel like she thinks Bran and Rickon are pretty safe up there. Like she needs to be down here to try and get Arya and Sansa back. Like that's
yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean this is probably the best thing that she could have said to really solidify her place there. Yeah, and it's kind of weird. Go ahead, go.
I was just going to say that's her prior thought here. It's like, yeah, if the winds are kind, Bran and Rickon need you. And she said, and you do not? Is that what you mean to say?
Yeah, is that she's thinking you need me too.
So who's putting this in Robb's ear to get rid of her? Robb himself?
Probably Theon.
I think without getting back on this argument we got on a few times, because Robb's used to not answering to anybody, and like even though he didn't have to ever answer to Cat in recent memory, because he has been, this is like the last person.
Tell the lie.
I mean, there's been times where he hasn't. Let's be like, she told him not to fight in the Whispering Woods, right? And he ran down.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like everything she said. It's been like, yes, mom. But yes, mom.
You're right.
Like he's robbing of Aaron, sucking at her teeth. Like,
but right now he's really no mom, no mom, no mom, no mom.
Yeah, no, it's definitely switched. But she's been there. Like, why the switch now? It's got to be the crown's the only thing that's really changed. She's been there since he's been listening to her. He got the crown, and now he's stopped.
And that's what so that's what he even reminds her. He's like, I could command you, right? Like once he says like, I should be here with my dying father, he says, I could command you as your king. And she straight up just ignores it. And then that's where she switches the conversation to the Theon stuff.
Yeah. And so we find out that Theon is going to the Iron Islands to try and get his dad and their ships on their side so that they can attack. Yep. I guess just anywhere from the sea if need be. And Kat just doesn't trust him at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't agree. I'm not like super on Kat's side as much as I am for the other thing. I think peace is way better than just straight up fighting. But I think Theon's a bad choice. I think she's right. You send like other people, or at least like somebody else important, maybe with Theon. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he needs some watching. He's already a prisoner, right?
Yeah, I wanted to get Kyle's, because we obviously know more about what do you think of just Theon at this point? And
I mean, I didn't even really realize that he was a prisoner. That was a prisoner kind of role until you guys explained that. I think we might have met some people since then that would have pointed that out. But I mean, like, I don't know why he would just trust him, but I mean, he seems like the asshole influence friend that's like always hanging around, and
he's definitely Robb's best friend,
which is right. So this is where it gets hard.
It's easy to see why Robb does what Robb does, because this is just Robb's best friend. It's like the only person about his age who's highborn besides Jon Snow, who he's been chilling with for his whole life, and Theon's older.
His whole life, his whole life, yeah. Pretty much a big brother. Like he's been there since Cognitive Fire's been shooting. Like he's
So it's 100%. You see why Robb's doing what he's doing, but
Robb's point too. Like, all right, like he knows these people. Like he is their person. Like they should like jump at the thought of, oh yeah, like we'll fight for you. You're our guy.
Well, why would he? I mean, like there's no guarantee he comes back then at that point. Like,
and I think that's what Catelyn's thinking, right?
Yeah, like he could just
like he's finally home. Like fuck it.
Like if the answer is no, we don't want to help you, then okay, we'll never see fucking Theon again. Which exactly. Is that a big problem? Maybe not, but you don't have your hostage anymore. Like which was what his the whole point was, right? So like I see where this. I don't think Catelyn is has as much of a ground to stand on here, especially considering it's Rob's best friend. It's hard to kind of talk against him. Maybe counsel to send somebody else with him, but definitely another route.
But at the same time, he's willing to give him a fucking crown.
Well, he says he doesn't give a fuck, right? He doesn't want the Iron Islands.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I'll give you your fucking... Go be your own kingdom. I don't care. So that's another kingdom that the Iron Throne would lose.
Yeah. Which is weird to me, is like, why wouldn't the Riverlands why didn't the Riverlands want that too? If it was like, if Robb doesn't really care about expanding his territory. Yeah. Like why the Riverlands? Like,
it's also weird.
You can't defend it.
We hear a little bit of the history of Harrenhal later on, and I don't know if you guys caught it, but when they talk about that history, the Iron Men actually ruled the Riverlands before Aegon conquered. The Iron Men, that was all one which is why they called 7 kingdoms and now it's 9. One of the kingdoms was Iron Islands and the Riverlands was one kingdom, with those broken into 2.
I thought when they said Ironman, it was just like knights. It was like different.
That was like Heron the Black. Yeah.
He was an Iron.
Yeah.
Or
Greyjoy.
Greyjoy descent.
No, Greyjoy is a pretty new family to take over the Iron Islands. Kind of like how Highgarden is a new family to take over the Reach. Like it was Gardeners for a really long time, which is why it's Highgarden.
Tyrells, you mean?
Yeah, Tyrells now, but it used to be the Gardeners, which is why it's Highgarden.
I didn't pick. I just thought they said like the white man came over to America, type of shit. Like they were the guys in Iron, but
I think the Greyjoys have been there for a while, but they haven't been kings lords the whole time.
All right, so Rob's just like, no, I'm sending Theon. That's it. Like, go away from me. And Kat's like, all right, I'm going to visit my dad. And he bails.
Exactly.
Does he just storm out with Greywind?
Yeah, he walks off with Greywind. Yeah.
And she goes up there. The Blackfish is chilling in the room. We find out that we've known that he's been kind of scouting for Rob, but he must be doing like some high level scouting. He's bringing back a bunch of shit.
She says that he is Rob's eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Like just basically doing everything.
Which seems like he's a little too highborn, I think, to be like head scout. Kind of.
He's like a very high ranking like military person. He was the commander of the gate, right, for the Erie, whatever that means. The bloody the commander of the bloody gate for Lysa for how many years? And he dipped on her for this. Maybe
he's like, he knows the lands that well, but it seems kind of stupid that he's not like the commander and he's out scouting. But I guess he's doing a pretty good job at it.
Right now, yeah, like what are you doing? You're just sitting
when they're hunkered down.
I agree with that.
And is he really
use the talents wisely while you have it, while you have the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's the brother to Hoster, right?
Yes.
And so Hoster's already in charge. Hoster has a son.
Yeah, he's not gonna be the heir unless something would happen, right? Because Edmure doesn't have kids, but for the foreseeable future, you would think he's out of succession. But
so he says he has some news for Rob, but he didn't want to. Rob was in court when he got back, so that's why he came here. He didn't want to Rob because he probably going to want to hear it in private first.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how Hoster's doing. They say he's not doing too much worse, but he's not doing good. He's just like sleeps
he's
most
not doing well. This guy's dying.
They just give him milk of the poppet and dream wine, so he sleeps all the time. He speaks a little bit, but doesn't really make sense. He talks for.
He's like withering. He's like withering away. Like he's not eating. Right? He's getting skinny.
He's not eating too much. He's losing more weight every day.
It smells bad.
Yeah. He just talks for his regrets, unfinished tasks, people undead, times past. Sometimes he doesn't know what season it is or who I am. And he says
he's calling Kat the mom.
Brennan says he still misses his mom, and the cat looks like her, and she's like, I don't really remember. You remember more than I do.
Do we know anything about her? I don't.
Really,
did she die early on, or
Kat's mom or Ned's mom? Like at all? We know that Kat's mom is a Went, which is who we hear held Harrenhal. But again, like it's kind of weird how they lose Harrenhal. Like Tywin just. We don't hear of like maybe we hear of a fight later on in a future chapter, but like so far we haven't really heard of a fight. Tywin just like, oh, we're gonna go be at Harrenhal, and like, okay, well, there's people there,
right?
So like, yeah, we don't really know much, but we don't know much about her mom or Ned's mom.
So the next part we get into is some comet talk.
Yep.
The Red Messenger.
It's crazy how many different meanings we've found.
Wasn't Red Messenger what they called it in King's? Wasn't like very
somebody called it that?
The Red Messenger. I think
this was called the Red Flag.
This one he calls it the Red Messenger.
My men call it the Red Messenger, but what is the message?
Somebody says the Red Flag for Great John says the Red Flag for vengeance or something.
Yeah, vengeance for Ned.
Yeah. But the Red Messenger, I think Varys said that for
I think you're right.
Yeah.
He said it was a herald of fire and blood to come or something like that.
Right. Which is what, and Brendan
Blackfish.
He agrees, right? He's like, oh, that's blood. That's blood's coming.
Well, he says it's a red messenger. That's what the men call it, but he wonders what the message is. Great John, says it's a red flag.
Red flag for vengeance.
Edmure says he thinks it's Tully's colors because
it's
red against blue.
Fish. Looks like a fish.
Yeah,
it's funny that people either can find a way
to themselves. Yeah,
right. They can find a way to make it about themselves, or the other one is like, oh no, blood. Like
it's either bad. Yeah.
Oh, red for the Lannisters, red for vengeance, red for Tully's, red for I don't know.
All right, Jeff, read it.
Death.
She sighed.
I wish I had their faith. Crimson is a Lannister color.
That thing's not crimson.
Sir Brendan said.
Nor Tully red, the mud red of the river. That's blood up there, child, smeared across the sky.
Our blood or theirs?
Was there ever a war where only one side bled?
Yeah. So then he goes in to start talking about some of what's actually going on in the Riverlands.
The Riverlands are awash in blood and flame all around the God's Eye. The fighting is spread south to the Blackwater, north across the Trident, almost to the Twins. Mark Piper and Carl Vance have won some small victories, and the southern lordling Beric Dondarrion has been raiding the raiders, falling upon Lord Tywin's foraging parties and vanishing back into the woods. It's said that Sir Burton Crakehall was boasting that he'd slain Dondarrion until he led his column into one of Lord Beric's traps and got every man of them killed.
All right. So what do you think about this?
I mean, this is a lot of stuff we kind of already knew, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mark
it's just
Piper,
kinda
Carl
updates
Vance.
or re-speaking of some of the...
At least two of the lords are kind of holding their own out there.
They're doing okay.
Piper and Vance, but
Dondarrion.
that was like, yeah, we know that Dondarrion's kind of was on the mission for the mountain, right? From Ned.
We heard weird shit about. We heard that he was killed by the mountain at the crossing of the Red Fork earlier in the first book. Now this guy's saying he killed him and then gets killed by him. So I mean, Kyle's brought that up at least once or twice before. That like you're like,
yeah, but nobody knows.
We always bring it up, and you're like, wait, isn't he dead? Didn't we hear that like he got killed by the mountain? And yeah, so like it's just kind of like weird mysteries what's going on. But Brendan thinks whatever he's got going on, he's figuring it out because he's like. Him and that red priestess he's got there, they don't need the god's help. But
do we know who the red priest is?
We do. His name's we don't know much about him. He's in the tourney.
At the tournament.
Yeah, he's Thoros of Mir.
Is he the flame sword guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets sent out. Ned sends him and Derek out together. Yeah. He gets sent out with Derek. Yep.
That was what I thought, but I couldn't. And then I started Googling, and then I was like, I shouldn't be Googling.
Yeah.
Once I started seeing names, so it's like, I don't know for sure who these names are.
Yeah.
And we find out, this is where we find out the rest of the guys aren't doing so well.
Jonos Bracken was wounded in the fighting amidst the ruins of his castle, and his nephew Hendry slain. Tytos Blackwoods swept the Lannisters off his lands, but they took every cow and pig and speck of grain and left him nothing to defend but Raventree Hall and a scorched desert. Dairymen recaptured their lord's keep, but held it less than a fortnight before Gregor Clewane descended on them and put the whole garrison to the sword, even their lord.
Yep, that's what we hear. That's what we hear about this lord being just a child and the last of the heir, which I brought up a few times, so we don't need to linger on it. But
it's kind of weird though. Like, so Derry was only a child, but he wasn't. Was he just like a captive?
I think
like first time.
I think one of the Derry. I think his dad died in the fighting at the Golden Tooth in the first book.
So I'm saying when they first took Derry, was he at Derry?
What do you mean when they first took
the kid? Like they lost it. They had to win it back.
I think one of the Derry men was one who went to see Ned in King's Landing. I think it was Vance, Piper, and Derry were there talking to Ned, and then he's like, "Go back and do what your lord says." And then Derry died fighting, and now the kid is taking over.
No, I'm saying, was he there the whole time? Like, was he
castle?
Just being?
Was the kid there?
Yeah, like when they first lost it, they kept him at first as like a hostage-ish type thing, and then they won it back, set him free, and then now he's dead. You're dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You are dead.
I guess even if they got raided, maybe they didn't actually lose their whole castle. Or no, I think what was happening was the castle or like whatever got raided was a town under Derry like lands, but it wasn't the actual castle. It wasn't like the Derry castle.
I gotcha. I just wondered if like the 7-year-old was like running around with the army.
I think he was probably just safe in the castle the whole time.
Yeah. All right. So we find out really. What comes to this is Catelyn truly thinks that, like, obviously the Malin's evil, but Tywin's the real issue here.
She's like,
he's the real danger.
The head honcho, and Blackfish's like, yeah, you're right, and it's not just the Mountain. There's 2 other groups that are out. So Amory Lorch, and then there's some sellsword from Qohor, who would sooner maim than kill a person. And he's like, I've seen their handiwork, burn villages, literally just dead kids everywhere, people raped all over the place. Not good.
It's pretty sad shit going on. The worst thing ever,
yeah.
And we know this is because, and Kat can see it, Tywin wants the battle. She wants to spring the trap. He wants to spring the trap.
Kat says this is going to piss everyone off, and Blackfish says that's what Tywin exactly wants. Which again, I think is like when they came down to when the dairy people, I don't want to just keep drawing the songs, we've gone going longer, but when all those river lords came to talk to Ned in the council last time, somebody told Ned, like, this is just, or somebody said, like, this is just Tywin trying to provoke you into throwing the first blow. So, like, again, like, we don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like Tywin is all about this, like, provoking tactic where he basically just sends Gregor out to do bad shit and make people get pissed off. It's literally the exact same thing that happened in the first book.
So we roll on, and they kind of just start talking about how Tywin's pretty safe in Harrenhal right now, and we get the history of Harrenhal here.
Harrenhal. Every child of the Trident knew the tales told of Harrenhal, the vast fortress that King Harren the Black had raised beside the waters of the God's Eye 300 years past, when the Seven Kingdoms had been 7 kingdoms, and the Riverlands were ruled by the Iron Men from the islands. In his pride, Harren had desired the highest hall and the tallest towers in all of Westeros. 40 years it had taken, rising like a great shadow on the shore of the lake, while Harren's armies plundered his neighbors for stone, lumber, gold, and workers. Thousands of captives died in the quarries, chained to his sledges, or laboring on his 5 colossal towers. Men froze by winter and sweltered in summer. Weirwoods that had stood 3,000 years were cut down for beams and rafters. Harren had beggared the Riverlands and the Iron Islands alike to ornament his dream. And when at last Harrenhal stood complete, on the very day King Harren took up residence, Aegon the Conqueror had come ashore at King's Landing. Catelyn could remember hearing old Nan tell the story to her own children, back at Winterfell. And King Harren learned that thick walls and high towers are small use against dragons, the tale always ended. For dragons fly. Harren and all his line had perished in the fires that engulfed his monstrous fortress, and every house that held Harrenhal since had come to misfortune. Strong it might be, but it was a dark place, and cursed. So we haven't had any chapters of Harrenhal yet, but I'll tell you, Kyle, we will. At least one.
In Harrenhal? Around Harrenhal?
We'll be
spoiler alert.
What does she say? In the shadow of the keep. Yeah, in the shadow of that keep, as Kat puts it. Kat
has no, really, I guess a lot of people, like, this place is cursed. Like, we don't want to go there. Every family that's kind of taken it up since has found misfortune. Yep. So we know who's head of Harrenhal right now.
It was Wentz. Now somehow Tywin's going to be there, whether Wentz are still in charge.
Well, he's there, but didn't Joffrey name someone?
Janos Slynt, is the new Lord of Harrenhal. You're right. Forgot about that.
And what's he doing right now, Glow?
He is captain of the City Watch, or whatever it is.
The next part we find out is that another host is being made up at Castle Rock. We kind of talked about this way in the beginning too. Like, they're getting more Lannisport men together, sell swords, just anyone that they can kind of find to fight for them. Stafford Lannister is in charge out west.
Who is he?
We kind of find out he's kind of a dummy too.
So Kat thinks he's a nephew, but he's not. He's double related.
He's a cousin.
Double related.
He's a cousin that's married to a cousin.
He's a cousin and a brother-in-law. How's that work?
Yeah, that's weird.
Tywin was.
I don't know. I need to draw a map.
Tywin was married to his own cousin Joanna Lannister. Tywin Lannister married Joanna Lannister, and Joanna Lannister's brother is Stafford Lannister.
Interesting.
So Tywin married his cousin, which I guess isn't a weird thing.
It is a weird thing.
It's not as weird as in these times. I guess it's not weird, but yeah, it definitely is a weird thing. In these times, it's not a weird thing. Not as weird as what Tywin's children are up to.
No,
fair enough.
We hear that Stafford's kind of a nut job, but his son Davin, it must be a pretty good knight.
What Blackfish says. Yep.
And then this is where I don't even know like what really sparks the idea.
Basically, Blackfish says Tywin's not an idiot either. He's no Jamie. Tywin's not an idiot. He's gonna sit there and wait until that army is ready and trained before he does anything.
Right. And this is when Catelyn's like, "Whoa, well, what else can we do?" And the thought is just Renly.
Well, she just says,
so we don't really.
He has to be drawn out somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, something else draws him out.
And it can't be us.
Blackfish is like, ooh, the light bulb goes out. They're both thinking the same thing, I think, but the light bulb goes out.
Yeah.
Oh, Renly. King Renly, if she would ask for help from the man, she would need to grant him the style he had claimed for. That's when he says Lord Renly, she says King Renly. Perhaps the Blackfish smiled a dangerous smile. He'll want something, though. He'll want what kings always want, she said. Homage. All right, Kyle. Predictions?
Homage.
I mean, I don't there's so many moving pieces here. I don't even know like where to start.
What's Cat's next play?
What's Cat's next play?
I mean,
I guess just the North in general.
Just stick with Cat for now. What's Cat gonna do with her
she's
new
gonna try
idea?
and find out how to work it out. I guess try and send somebody to Renly, but who and how I don't have any idea.
So, how do you think Rob takes this idea of taking on another king type shit? If say she goes with that
I mean,
idea.
I hope she does it without him.
Ooh,
oh shit!
that's dope.
Just pull out the rug from underneath your son.
All right, so what's going on with predictions on Rob then? Like, what does the North do, if anything? Right, Brendan's kind of laid it all out.
I think he's going to do something stupid. He's been making a lot of dumb decisions this whole chapter, in the sense of that he needs talked out of, or like he's not thinking clearly, or he's letting the mob rule him, I guess, essentially. So I think he's going to do that again. He kind of wants vengeance himself too, though. So I think they're just kind of reinforcing his views, but I don't know that they're the smartest or most well thought out always.
Yeah, gotcha.
So.
All
right, cool. I don't have much. I don't have anything else. I mean,
yeah.
All right, cool. Good stuff, Kyle. We'll see you on the next one, brother.
Bye, Kyle.
Yeah, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Cal. It was great
Bye,
hanging out, bud.
Kyle.
We'll see you on the next show for Tyrion 1.
Miss you,
Fuck
Kyle.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck you, Kyle.
And now onto the spoiler section for Cat 1. Boys, what are your hot takes for this show?
So, Loki, Cat is like one of the best POVs in this book.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because she sees a lot of cool shit.
She does see a lot of cool shit.
She
goes down to
literally
Renly's camp
next
and
chapter
shit.
is her meeting Brienne and Renly. Chapter after that is Renly getting stabbed. Or no. Chapter after that is her meeting Stannis and Renly. She's the one at that meeting. Chapter after that's Renly getting stabbed. Chapter after that's Brienne swearing her service to her. And then chapter after that's her releasing Jaime. Just fucking from here on, it's just fire straight for Cat.
That is actually
it's
some
so
really good
dude.
POV chapters
so good.
right there.
There might be like one extra one at River Run, but it's so good.
It's kind of wild how she just picks up right from the conversation with Brendan, and it's just on. She's just there, right? She just shows up at it's got to be a while from now. It can't be like it's the next chapter,
Here's
right?
another thing about I think why
does
Jeff
Rob send her, or
Cat.
does she sneak away like Kyle?
So
said?
here's another thing about why I think Jeff hates Cat is Jeff saw show first, just like I did, which is why I don't like Cat, but I've liked Cat a lot more on rereads. In the show, Cat begs Rob to go home. She's like, Bran and Rickon need me. You have to send me home. And he's like, no, you have to go to Renly. We need him. It's like strategy. It's really smart.
Yeah.
In here, she's the one that comes up with this plan to
That's
go
true.
get Renly.
That's true.
And
Do
I
you
think
actually like Catelyn?
Rob does send her with like a bunch of people, like Hallis Mullen and people go with her. But like in the show, she's like, no, just send me home, just send me home. And then here, she's the one that's actually thinking of all this smart shit.
I do agree with you, Nelson.
Theon, dude, is like the biggest dumb move ever. Theon is literally no different than Jaime. There's no difference between Theon and Jaime at this exact point in time. And they're just sending him back.
Right.
And what
There's a
happens?
big difference.
They just fucking attack. There's no difference. What
I
happens?
think there's a
what
little
happened-
difference.
There's definitely a difference. There's
What would
definitely a
happen if they would
difference.
sent Jaime back? Jaime would immediately attack the North. What happens when they send Theon back? Theon immediately attacks the North.
But it's
He
not
doesn't
like
immediately-
Theon went with that
Immediately.
intention.
He doesn't immediately do it. His dad calls him a bitch, and then he does it.
Yeah.
His dad already has the longboats. Like Balon is going to attack the North, whether Theon comes there or not.
Right, but Theon went with the right intention, I feel.
For sure, but he switches immediately.
I mean, he definitely ends up wanting to. So that's the one thing about Theon. He always wanted to be the heir to the Iron Islands. He always wanted to be his son's kid, and he came back, and I feel like they didn't really look at him like that. I'm also thinking a lot about the show right now because I don't
You're right.
remember
No,
these
it's
parts.
the same. But even if they did, it doesn't matter. Balon was going to attack. Balon wasn't listening to Theon.
Say if Balon had an open mind though, and actually listened to what Theon was going to say, he would have joined Rob's cause probably.
So who remembers? Even it's the same in the show. Balon has a big problem with Theon's plan. And this is the other thing. Why Robb sends Theon? This is Theon's plan. Theon came up with this. This isn't Robb's plan. Theon came up with this part.
Right.
So there's one big problem that Balon has when Theon gets back.
Because you got to take your shit. No.
You got to take your shit. You're not going to get given a crown from Robb. I'm going to take my crown. And in this chapter, Robb says, "I'll give him a crown if that's what he wants." If that's
that's true. That's not the iron price.
That's not the iron price. That's the gold price. Exactly.
That's gotta be
in this chapter. They do it on purpose. Robb on purpose says, "I will give him a crown."
Yeah,
and that is what he gets fucking pissed off about.
There's gotta be well known though, right? Like there's another one where Cat would be like, he doesn't want to be given. They take their stuff. Like, all right, Cat, you got all this smart shit. Like, where's your fucking council there?
Yeah, I mean that's just like
maybe that's not
culture. That's just like Ironborn culture.
It's got to be well known. I don't know. It's their fucking words, basically.
The other thing, like we were saying, I didn't want to bring it up, and I don't think I said it. Maybe I did fucking say it. When someone was like, they know Theon. Theon knows them. Like they don't. He was 9 or 10 when they took him. And coming back as 20. So like, what do you? I think
Robb knew him though.
No, So one of us or Kyle was saying like the Ironborn are gonna know Kyle, like Theon, like they know him, like he knows them. But what I'm saying is like, how much do you really remember up to your 9? Like not much, right?
I mean, 9 is like 4th grade. I mean,
but you remember way more from 10 to 21 than you do from 0 to 9.
Absolutely, but
yeah.
He should be able to, like, I don't know if people will be like, oh, wow, you're Theon Greyjoy the moment he steps on, but like, oh, you're Theon? Like, oh, I remember when you were a 9-year-old running around,
also,
on your
Pike's
fucking
just
little
not
shit.
Like that. Like, Pike isn't like a lot of the other kingdoms.
No, Pike doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. I think Kyle's not prepared for Pike to be that different. Like, Pike is
It's going to be
different.
good. The first Theon chapter, I think, is kind of stupid because they spend way too much time with the stupid cabin girl. Where he's just like getting his dick sucked for the first time. There's like too much time with that, and then in the books he actually rides up to Pike with Damfair. He rides up to Pike with Damfair in the show.
He doesn't finger his sister in the book.
He rides up to Pike, and then in the second Theon chapter, he comes back to Lordsport, to the docks at Lordsport to inspect his ship that he was going to be the captain of, and on the way back, there's this maid who shows up and says her name's Eskred and that she's the wife of the shipwright, the guy who makes all the ships. And she needs to ride to the castle. And Theon's like, oh, fuck yeah, you're the man. And that's who he's fondling on the way up to the castle. And it is our
Shara.
What's her name? Asha. It is Asha. She just says her name's Esther. And then she says, I wanted to like get the feeling. So he rides up to the castle twice. First time with Aeron, then he comes back. The next chapter starts with him back down at the docks looking at his ship, and he rides back up again. But this time he brings somebody on his horse. But yeah, they both happen, but not in the first Theon chapter. Just the first one happens in the first Theon chapter.
My one question I have, does Oliver die, or Oliver or whatever, die during the Red Wedding?
Fuck's Oliver? Oh, is that the Frey squire?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Why would they kill their own?
I don't think so. I'm just curious.
I think
Cleos dies, right?
I know that there's like things where they purposely don't invite certain people who weren't involved. Like so Cleos is a good one. What happens with Cleos?
I forget.
It's interesting because like we don't know his age, but he's like a pretty big character. He's definitely in more chapters than way more chapters than most characters.
So he comes back, right?
So next time we'll see him in a Tyrion chapter. He'll show up in King's Landing.
And then he comes back to River Run.
Tyrion poisons Cersei with like shitting medicine so that she misses council one day so that he gets to handle Cleos. Sends Cleos back.
That's funny.
Along with all of Cersei's personal guard. Right, because so by this time, the next chapter, he gets rid of Janos and takes over the City Watch. But Cersei still has the personal guard. He finds out in like the next chapter that she's doing stuff with her personal guard. So he poisons her to make her shit herself, sends Cleos back with all her personal guards, so she doesn't have any anymore. And he tells her that like, oh, you got to agree with it because it's going to save Jaime. And he sends like some spies in with the guard, whatever.
So does he?
So Cleos shows up, talks to Tyrion a couple times in a couple of Tyrion chapters coming up. Then goes back to Robb. I think he shows up, talks to Tyrion at the end of a Tyrion chapter, and then beginning of the next Tyrion chapter is him doing what I just said, poisoning Cersei and sending Cleos off. Then Cleos shows back up with Robb in a Catelyn chapter. I'm assuming at the end of this book, maybe not, but he gets sent south with Brienne and Jaime. In the books, Brienne and Jaime are not alone. They get sent with Sir Cleos Frey, Jaime's cousin.
Right, and they actually get attacked a couple times on the way south.
Boats come after him, and Brienne climbs on a cliff and throws a boulder off of it onto a boat. And then they get attacked again.
Who are in the boats? Are they Lannister people?
It might be Sir Robin Ryger, the guy who brings Sir Cleos in this chapter. It's probably the captain of the River Run Guard, whoever it was.
Because they're running. Like
Catelyn
fucks Rob.
Yeah.
Catelyn fucks Rob, basically.
Yeah, and it's as soon as they find out about it, they send people after him. Yeah, exactly.
Catelyn's the worst. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, she fucks up at that point. So yeah, then they're going, and then I think they get into a fight with the Bloody Mummers or something. Either like the Bloody Mummers, so like Vargo Hoda, those guys, or whatever. But Cleos dies.
Right,
poor guy.
He dies on the way south with them.
Doesn't Jaime kill him?
I don't think so. I
thought you told me yesterday that Jaime like steals a sword and kills him.
So in the books, Cleos Frey, I think, is the guy who's in the cage with Jaime, and he's like, "I have a plan. I know how we get out of here. You only have to do one thing,
and he
die." And then Jaime just kills him. And
he strangles him.
I think that's who Cleos Frey is supposed to be in the show. But yeah, in the books, he actually goes with them on the way south. And he's like helping them fight in like those in those like early fights and stuff.
So with this Armory Lorch guy, Amory Lorch, he chops off the hand, right? Or is that Vargo Hoat? Which one goes?
Armory Lorch sees Arya in a few chapters here. He's the one who kills Yoren, burns him out of that hold fast.
Okay.
And then he's also the one that the Lannisters end up blaming for Rhaegar's kids' and wives' death instead of the mountain. They blame him and try and tell Dorne, Dorne, don't worry about it. We killed him. He's dead, because Vargo Hoat ends up killing him with a bear. The bear that they sent against.
Do you know all this just because you've been listening to it, or you just know
that stuff's far out? Some of that stuff's far out,
and you just know that shit. You're such a nerd. You're crazy.
I know it all, top of my head.
Oh, man.
All right, and the other thing I have is, my favorite topic, dire wolves.
Grey Wind's a boss. It's a shame.
Dude, they definitely have a word connection, which is nice.
It's a shame that he dies. There was a sweet.
There was a lot of it.
Let's talk about. I got at least one sweet, but let's talk about Grey Wind first.
Okay. I always expect Glow to get that, so I don't write it.
I forgot about the sweet one, yeah.
I got it.
Grey Wind.
I'm just anything that you guys mentioned. We do mention of the God's Eye, right, Nelson? Which that's another thing that you get all geeked up about.
Did they talk about the God's Eye? All right, real quick. Grey Wind gets angry when Rob gets angry. They have a word connection, just like all the other Starks. It's cool to see that, though. Every time they have
which gets me back to like I get it. Like you don't need so many POVs in the same spot, but it would be really cool to get a little bit of Rob.
That's why Grey Wind is one of the reasons I think it's the best that we don't get a Rob POV.
Wow.
Like it's so interesting to like the fact that like he like whistles and Grey Wind comes up and just like intimidates the fuck out of like that could be good training. Or Rob could be doing some like high level work shit that we just don't even know about.
But like every other time it's like a work, like they go into this like trance. Eyes rolled back state, you know what I mean? Yeah,
kind of. But like Varamir Sixskins, when he wargs, he can warg one of his wolves, but also control two other ones,
and still control the others.
Yeah. So I think you have like minimal.
But what is he like? What is he like? Is he like on autopilot himself, like as the person?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how the person goes. But but I'm saying if he can be in the mind of one and like tertiary control another one, that means that Rob should be able to like be in himself and tertiary.
Yeah.
If we're using that term, I don't even know if that's the right term. I like that term, Glow.
I think it's a good word. I think it fits. It might be a Game of Thrones word.
It's probably
not a Game of Thrones word.
It's definitely like a math word. We learned about that before.
Yeah.
But the only word that we actually get, that we actually know of, is Bran, right?
Well,
and Varamir. But like we're actually in the Bran POV.
Yeah.
And when he works in his POV, he's completely
his out
in the other deal.
Yeah. Like in Call of Duty, when you caught an airstrike and your body's just laying there. Yeah. Anybody can roll up on you.
That's Bran. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we can believe in like Varamir, so my point is to like, are the wolves that good? Are the wolves like smarter than the humans almost in the warg experience where they can just, I don't even know. Like they're just following, like they already know before the human thinks it.
Well, like I don't think Grey Wind howling at Cat here is Bloodraven, right?
No, I think it's I think it's a connection between him and Rob.
I think they just have like a mental connection.
Yeah, that's just like a connection, right? Yeah.
They're just like the same brain type of deal.
Yeah, like emotional and
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Which makes sense with Rickon. We don't really get any of Lady. Nymeria's gone before we.
But Nymeria was like Arya, all fucking hard to control and shit.
So Grey Wind is mirroring Rob. Rickon is definitely mirroring Shaggy Dog.
Yeah.
Bran, is he mirroring Summer? I guess like Summer just wants to run and shit like that. Like
not yet, but yeah.
We don't really hear of like Summer.
And Ghost is
but I guess because we actually see,
like John is.
We actually see Summer getting warged, which might be different, right?
Yeah.
Ghost is just a weirdo. So the one big sweet line was, an offer had to be made, but a wiser man would have made sweeter terms.
There was another one where they both
and he says like if you made it any more sweeter, I would have
any sweeter, I would have puked, basically. Like one, I'll say this term sucked. Like
there's no way they're gonna accept this, and they knew it too.
Right, and again, like they have no actual control over anything right now.
Other than they have a little bit of leverage.
Yeah,
they have Jaime. I think Jaime's the only leverage that they have. Everything else, they've just kind of won back. They never actually had, like they lost Riverrun. They had to get it back. It's not like they overtook Castle Rock or they overtook
Lannisport. Like he never would, but he needs to just start like burning shit in the Westerlands. Is how you win this. Is how like he is the move right now. Just do what Tywin's doing. Just fight fire with fire. Literally in this case,
it's got to be a little bit of guerrilla warfare, right? Because you don't have the numbers to just fight them again in open field.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to do some like Patriot type shit where you're just kind of like taking off people here and there. You know, you can't go. You're not going to go out in the field against the British Army.
So what's also
you got to find a Benjamin Martin.
I guess what we could talk about is what Kat says at the very end of this chapter. Right? Is what if Tywin has to leave Harrenhal for something else, and then they think Renly, and we know that Kat goes to talk to Renly, but Tywin does have to leave Harrenhal,
and it's for Stannis.
It's for Stannis after the whole Renly thing. It's at King's Landing.
So if let's just
But I mean, why can't Rob capitalize at that point?
Because he marries the Westerling girl.
The twins?
Why is he but like why is he why are the twins important again? Who gives a fuck?
Because the Ironborn take the north and they've got to go back.
And they got to go back north, so they have to go through the twins again.
And at this point, he's got a pregnant wife.
He's already fucked it up. I guess he does get his wife in this book. Maybe not. He might not even. Till early next book.
I don't. Yeah, I'm all screwed up on where the timelines
are. I don't know how we would figure that out because Kat's not in Riverrun for most of this book. Kat doesn't get to the river until the very end of this book again.
Yeah, so it's got to feed over to the next. Hosser's still alive.
Yeah, because he didn't say his fucking Tansy shit yet, so he's got to be alive still.
I mean, Kat ruins it all. Let's be serious.
At this point, she's been giving good cancels. Giving away Jaime is not a good idea, but.
And I might give Kyle too much of like the I hate Catelyn stuff. Like, yeah, he listened to her for sure. She gives him good advice. Sometimes he doesn't take it though, and I don't know if everything. Obviously, giving Jaime back's bad advice, so it's not like she's 100%.
So it's bad advice, but Jaime was gonna hold up. Like they were gonna hold up their side of the bargain, right? Like they were gonna give the girls back. Like Tyrion and Jaime, the combination of those two, were gonna hold it up and give the girls back, which is all she really wanted. So yeah, Sansa. Maybe. I mean, even if that does work out perfectly, it's still a horrible trade, right? Jaime for 2 girls, but
it doesn't help Rob at all. It screws Rob. Like Jaime is back out in the field tomorrow.
It helps Rob by if it works, then Catelyn just goes home, and then he doesn't have to deal with her anymore.
Yeah, because she's the worst. I wouldn't want to deal with her either.
Because she has all her kids back.
Please just go home to Bran and Rickon.
Well, also, I think when that happens, it's right after we hear about Bran and Rickon's death. So I think like literally Cat gets back to Riverrun, hears that Bran and Rickon are dead, and is like, "Fuck this! I need my last 2 kids. Jaime, you're my last chance."
That's true.
So let's get back on the terms real quick and just the sweet thing. Do you think if he sweetened it up at all, like it would have made a difference? Like say Jamie was in, blah blah blah, like everything goes back to normal, but give us the 2 girls, and the Lannisters just like, all right, cool.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but the terms that Tyrion sends back are even more ridiculous in the other way. And I think the only thing that like they get out of anything is they just give Ned's bones for good faith.
Right.
But they don't give ice. There's even like a part like in that thing where he's telling Cleos, they even say like Ilan Payne stood in the back of the hall, like with ice over his shoulder. Yeah, and he's like, no, he won't get ice. And Sansa's there. Like,
it's Sansa's also fucked up that Ilan Payne has ice.
All this. Yeah, and Sansa's in the hall for all this.
Yeah.
Basically, like Jaime's got to come back immediately, and they got to give all the Northern Lords got to give a son as a hostage or a daughter or like 2 daughters if they don't have a son. Like,
it's crazy. Like Rob's terms are a lot like I'm big dick. Like you kneel to me now. Yeah, and he's not in that position. And I mean, the Lannisters, other than having like a huge castle on the walls,
but like, what do they even really want right now? They just want Rob to get go shut up and go home.
I think, everything. Like, everyone just go home. Like, we're the king.
That's what everyone wants right now.
Well, no, everyone wants to take over except for the Lannisters. Lannisters don't really want much. They're just like, everyone just stop fucking with us.
Yeah.
Like, and there's good reason for everyone to be
keep paying us taxes and...
Yeah, just go home and keep paying us. It's like, then we'll be good. That's it.
And then we'll stop burning your fields Lannisters and killing all your people.
Yeah.
I am excited for Tyrion to be the hand though coming up.
Next one's good with Janos. Yeah.
All right.
And
let's
we get
sign
the
off.
answer we get the answer to Barry's riddle. A little tease for the next podcast. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. Leave us a like, give us a comment. Hey, I know I've been looking at the stats. We have a lot of viewers or listeners who listen on iTunes now. I don't know if they make it the whole way to the spoiler section, but no one reviews us. There's at least 50 of you guys who listen to us like pretty consistently on iTunes. Nobody gives us any reviews. Figure it out. Even
give
if
us a review.
Unless it's going to be like a 2 or 1, then don't worry about it. But if it's going to be like a 3 or higher, go fucking.
I mean, if you're listening to us every
fucking
Monday,
your heart
give
out.
us a 3 at least. Like, come on.
We're good guys.
Throw your boys a bone. All right, but we'll see you in the next one.
Peace out, dogs. The life is dark and full of terrors.